We're ready whenever you are, Clark.
Okay, thanks very much. I hope everyone caught up on their sleep after last night's game. I want to start by congratulating Coach Reed, his staff, and the team on a very hard-fought win last night. Tennessee's obviously a very good team, a very tough opponent for us, and I thought the guys did a great job of persevering in a game that wasn't going our way for quite some time. In general, I'm very pleased with where the team is at this point. As we approach the midpoint of the season, we have a lot of new players, a lot of young players, and I think the coaching staff has done a tremendous job of integrating those players into the team. And I think each week we see them continuing to contribute more and more to our success. I also want to acknowledge Kim Landers, who was inducted into the Chiefs Hall of Fame last night. It was our Legends Weekend game, and it was great to have back so many of our alumni who came back to celebrate Kimball. Kimball had a tremendous career under Marty Schottenheimer during the 90s and is a very deserving member of the Chiefs Hall of Fame. And with that, I will open it up.
We'll go first to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Clark. How you doing today?
Doing great, thanks.
Good. I am a couple hours behind on my sleep, so you owe me a couple here. Hey, I wanted to ask you, I'll ask this question understanding that you're not around the team on a daily basis like the coaches are, but maybe there was a story from somebody, from John Dorsey or Andy or somebody. Just wondering if there was a time you had a sense for what Travis Kelce was going to become for this franchise. And Brad, I'll have a second question as well.
Yeah. Well, I think it's hard to predict that somebody's going to have an impact on the team like Kelce has over his career. And with each passing year, he seems to lay more and more bricks into what's becoming very much of a stellar career here in Kansas City and in the National Football League. One thing I do remember is how excited Andy was when we drafted him, because Andy had the experience with his brother. He knew Travis as a high school student, and he really felt that he had a chance to turn into a special player. And of course, that's all played out. So I think I would give the credit to Andy on helping identify him, and then to the coaching staff and doing a great job of developing him over the years. And of course, you can't talk about Travis without talking about his relationship with Patrick, both on and off the field. The two of them are great friends and obviously have a special connection on the field that helps Travis be successful on a weekly basis.
And do you remember something specific Andy said about Travis when you all drafted him?
I remember him saying what a tremendous athlete that he felt he was. Somebody who had been a quarterback in high school and started out his college career that way, and was making the transition to being a tight end. And of course, we've seen that athleticism almost on a weekly basis for the last 9 or so years.
Let's go next to Vahe Gregorian. Go ahead, Vahe.
Hi, Clark. Thanks for making time. With the Britt Reed case reconciled last week, or at least the sentencing last week, I wonder if you might be able to speak to how you've looked back on all this very difficult situation. And I'll have one follow-up as well, Brad.
Mm-hmm. Well, the first thing I would say is that our heart and thoughts continue to be with Ariel Young and her family and everybody who was impacted by the accident that evening. With the case being wrapped up, I can't go into details, but what I can share with you is we did an investigation at the time, and that investigation showed that there was no gathering of employees either at the practice facility or the stadium where alcohol was consumed. And beyond that, I really can't share anymore.
Did you, by saying that, Clark, does that mean that you were in compliance with what I believe are the NFL rules not to have any alcohol in the facility?
Yes, that is the NFL rule that no alcohol is consumed at the team facilities, and we were in compliance.
Thank you.
Let's go next to Aaron Ladd. Go ahead, Aaron.
Hey, Clark, appreciate the time here. We're a couple months into this gambling being legalized on the Kansas side as far as sports betting is concerned. I wonder what you all's biggest lesson has been so far through the year, and then maybe another win or a success story you've had so far, and then a follow-up to that as well.
Yeah. So, going back to last year, it passed in Kansas, but not in Missouri in the past legislative sessions. And we're very hopeful going forward that it will pass in Missouri. I think it's the best thing in terms of bringing gambling out into the light, having it be legal where it can be regulated. In terms of wins for the franchise, we've established some relationships with some of the partners in that space, and would look to continue to do so. Hopefully, at the time that Missouri approves the legislation, which we think has a good chance of passing in the next year.
Yeah, that was going to be my follow-up. Just kind of how close, what's your feel on the Missouri side now that you've had good business on the Kansas side, as you talked about? What's your feel for the Missouri legislation?
Well, all I know is that it was very close to passing this past legislative session, and we think that it has a good chance going forward. I think with each passing year, you're seeing more and more states approve their versions of legalized sports betting, and I do think it will come to Missouri at some point.
Let's go next to Herbie Teope. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Clark, good afternoon. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us. Last month at the owners meeting, I know it came in the wake of some of the roughing the passer penalties, and instant replay was a subject that came up. What do you see happening with replay when you all do get back together again in March? And what are some of the rule changes you would like to see happen?
Well, most of that process takes place at the competition committee, and I'm not on the competition committee. Andy Reid is not on that committee, but he's part of the Madden committee that has a very important voice from a coaching standpoint. We haven't had a chance as an organization to talk about what changes we would like to see for next year. I will say that instant replay is an area that has very extensive discussion every year, starting at the competition committee, and then also as we get together as an ownership in March. There's always a handful of proposals that get discussed. I know some of the personal foul rules have been talked about earlier this year, and potentially that will be something that the competition committee looks at.
Let's go next to Matt Derrick. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Clark. Kind of a two-part question about the NFL draft and coming to Kansas City. And, the first part really is, what are you most excited about looking forward to as far as the planning goes for the draft? And secondly, Brett had said during the draft itself that the only thing you told him was that he couldn't trade his first-round pick. How important is it to you that that the Chiefs are a big player in the draft, and that you're actually you're not trading around picks, and you're actually going to be involved in the draft?
Yeah. Well, Brett and I have had an ongoing joke here for several years since we learned that the draft is coming to Kansas City, that we had to have our first round pick for this draft. Of course, at the end of the day, if there's a transaction that makes sense for the club, certainly I'm not going to stand in the way of that. I think the Kadarius Toney trade that took place a little over a week ago is an example of that. A player that Brett had been very excited about for a couple of years, and we had an opportunity to make a trade and add somebody who can not only help us this year, but will help us down the road. So from a planning standpoint for the draft, most of that work is taking place between the NFL, the Kansas City Sports Commission, and the city. They've got to get ready to host approximately 500,000 fans, which is just a staggering number as you think about the stress that the infrastructure in the city will be under. But what I'm most excited about is just the incredible celebration of the National Football League and indirectly the Kansas City Chiefs that draft's going to be. It's going to be a great opportunity for everyone who's associated with the Chiefs Kingdom to come to Kansas City and party and celebrate for a couple of days while the draft takes place. And of course, most importantly, at the end of the day, I hope we get some great players who help us win on the field.
Let's go next to Todd Leboeuf. Go, Todd.
Couple things quick here, Clark. Just to follow up with Vahe first. So you expect no punishment or anything from the National Football League involving anything around Britt Reed?
I'm not expecting anything, no.
Okay, and then we've seen plenty of things here. You know, Washington is up for sale now. There's been quotes here and there from owners saying, well, I got the goods on someone else. What's the state of the ownership, the franchisees in the National Football League with you guys? Is it all happy and good? Or is it just kind of regular competition? Because it seems like there's getting to be some clicks and things like that at that level.
Yeah, I would say the group as a whole works really well together, and has really since my time running the franchise. You certainly go through time periods where franchises have issues either related to the franchise or some kind of disagreement with something happening at the league level that affects that franchise. But typically we get through those pretty easily and really come together to get the important work of the National Football League done. And I would think that the situation in Washington, is going to play out that way as well. That's an ongoing investigation, so I can't really comment on anything specifically there. I have seen the reports about the Snyder family exploring a sale, but I really have not had a chance to talk to anybody about that.
We have one more hand up. We'll go last to Matt McMullen. Go ahead, Matt.
Hi, Clark. This is an exciting season for a lot of reasons, but one of those is that this is the 50th anniversary of GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium. That's exciting on its own, but to have 3 primetime games and 3 primetime comebacks here at home where the crowd is so into it, how exciting has this been for you?
Well, it's been a very exciting season so far. I mentioned earlier that I'm very pleased with where the franchise at this point is in the season as we approach the halfway point. I think at the start of the season, if you had told us that we would be 6-2 at this point, that we probably would have taken that. As you've mentioned, we've had several games where we've had to rally from a deficit to come back and win those games, and that's happened here at home, which has been so great for our fans. One of the things I really enjoyed last night was getting to talk to our alumni about it being the 50th season of the stadium and how many of them had an impact on the history of the stadium about what they accomplished on the field. And I know it's a special place for those players and coaches, just like it is for our fans and my family as well.
Thank you, Clark. We appreciate the time.
Thank you.